Bennet Bayer will give the next presentation, Defining the Largest Cloud Opportunity, the Personal Workspace and Cloud 2.0. Bennet Bayer serves as Chief Marketing Officer and VP of Strategy for Huawei. He is recognized as one of the 250 most influential cloud executives in the world by MSP Mentor, and provides nearly 30 years of domain experience in mobile, telecom, cloud, and related software technology.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Bennet Bayer. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Strategy with Huawei. We're going to talk about opportunities in cloud, the personal workspace, and a perspective from a hardware supplier's agenda, if you will. One of the things, as I get into this, that I learned from people doing thought leadership and workshops is not to use a traditional agenda, and the purpose, which is we're going to talk about the biggest cloud opportunity. How we're going to do it, well, I'm going to talk to you, and then hopefully we're going to have some questions, and I'll have some answers, and then what you get out of it is ideas that might help you accelerate your business. I'd like to start with some of the key trends, at least the ones that I see. And the first one, this is huge, and this takes up a lot of my day. And it's the orchestration of everything in the data center. Software, particularly orchestration and automation of all the business processes, are becoming the new hardware. And how this interacts around networking is really a big part of the future. Now, I'm going to get into this shortly. The systems of engagement. Now, the Internet of Things, but really it's the Internet of everything. Internet of Things would be your Schlage door lock, your Philips light bulb, Samsung refrigerator. But how do you get them to talk together? And this is one of the biggest drivers around personal cloud, which I think is the biggest opportunity in cloud computing. And we're going to see this, and the Internet of Everything is networking it together. And it's a precursor for 15 years from now, which is going to be nanotechnology, small distributed processors that will be mixed into the paint. The wall becomes the device, the screen, and it'll be woven in your clothing, kind of like Tom Cruise in the Minority Report. If you've seen that, you'll walk into the retail store, it'll know who you are, what you did last time, and would you like to see how that new pair of pants would look on you. I think right now we're about, as Gartner would say, the trough of disillusionment around big data. And I think it's going to take the Internet of Things and sorting through privacy before we're really going to see the benefits of that. People are selling that, me included, and it's driving a lot of storage sales. But it really impacts the cloud opportunity. Software as a service is kind of a silo business, and versus hybrid and IT service brokers. And I think you're going to see this, particularly around content, is going to be a really significant advancement over the next year or two. And my favorite, the era of personal cloud comes, I think, this year. We're already starting to see Amazon and Apple, Google, and some other market actors making noises in this space. There's going to be a big shift from on-prem apps to apps as a service, particularly for mobile, and something you're going to hear more about in the next generation of mobile devices. I think this next winter's Consumer Electronics Show, even memory is the new storage, and you're going to see a much smarter device with a lot more ability to process on the device. We're already seeing major shifts in cloud vendors. The big guys are eating up the little guys. Specifically around platform as service, and that leads to community clouds, which is another aspect that I hope you will think about in your business. Biometrics, particularly RF-based, you can actually now read markers in your blood which are 100,000 times more unique than the retina. And I think once we get that pervasive in devices, you're going to have single sign-on really make a lot more sense. And of course, the developers rule. Everything, the new hardware is software. So getting back to that very first one. So what we do quite a bit. We're not the only ones, but everything in the service provider network, the resource grid, is becoming automated. It's becoming a virtual machine and a command. And this is how they're going to leverage software-defined networking and network feature virtualization. And so you've got that on one side, and you'll see that in the bottom 4 layers here. Above that is the business processes, because your ERP, CRM, supply chain, field force automation, all of these things becoming virtual commands. So you're going to be able to mix and match and put these together on an ad hoc basis, do the transaction or the call, and then throw it away at the end, millions of times a second. The service provider has to go here in order to remain competitive and viable. And their business, their cloud business, will change. So if you look at infrastructure and platform as service in particular, this is going to be a major impact. And small data centers are probably going to go away in about 5 years' time. What you're going to find is a change in the business model. The service provider is going to, typically today, they're buying at 100% of capacity, and that's what they buy equipment for and provision the network for. That's not the future. In 5, 7 years' time, they're going to get those resources from you. They're going to provision maybe 60% of capacity and need, and they're going to get the other 40% from us. And we'll swap compute cycles, storage, bandwidth on an ad hoc basis, much like we see in the energy market. And the really big change is how you do this, but if you look at things like marketing automation, it will fundamentally change in 5 years, because if you're not in part of this ecosystem, if you're not a virtual machine, it won't work with what most enterprises and just about every service provider is going to be doing. So let's have a quick review. Public cloud. What is that? All right, this Amazon is the 900-pound gorilla. And this makes a lot of sense. And that's what most people think of. And then we have private cloud and hybrid. Now, private cloud is still 86% of the market. This is Cisco, IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Huawei, ZTE, Hitachi. All these guys selling storage and the applications and services around that to create a private cloud. When you are, say, a healthcare provider and you have your own electronic medical records in your private cloud, but you want to do CRM and patient information, well, not patient information, but patient relationships with the doctors on Salesforce, then you create a hybrid environment. And this is really a different kind of computing. Now, there are other kind of clouds. There's distributed, there's mobile, there's cloud grids, there's fog computing. And in any kind of cloud, you can have orchestration, federation, but the two biggest opportunities, I believe, are community clouds and personal cloud. Now, community cloud, and I did a $4 billion project in Africa last year amongst broadcasters, 18 countries, 53 broadcasters. So anytime you get a group with a common interest and need, much like social, it's a community. And if you think about vertical industries, this is a significant opportunity, particularly for service providers, healthcare, retail, banking, anybody who has a common interest and need. Now, personal cloud is obviously us. Where do we store our music, our movies, our pictures, our data, and all that information? Now, in every one of these kinds of clouds, you can have software as service, platform, infrastructure, storage, management, communication, business as a service, network as a service, IT as X as a service. And there are many more. But you can do any one of these. You can do communication as service and make money just in community cloud. And so this is really, and a different way to think about that. A good friend explained to me, how do you take on Amazon, which is really the gorilla, as I mentioned, in public cloud, of course. But if you think about Amazon, and if you were a farmer, and you know everything about farming, so all you want is the cheapest block of land that you can find. That's Amazon. Now let's suppose we're farmers and we want to grow tomatoes. So we need special dirt, and we want to have a fence around it. We want to use VMware, because Amazon is only 10. Well, okay, that's Workspace. Well, let's suppose we inherited the farm from Dad. We don't know anything about it. We don't even know what a tractor or fertilizer is. That's pretty much everybody else. We need help. And so there are different niches that market actors can act in to monetize opportunities. And if you look at this page, there's an awful lot of opportunities. Now here's some data points. This is a little out of date, but it still pretty much holds true, especially on the cumulative annual growth rates. Infrastructure service, platform are growing much faster than software service. And you see that around opportunities with hosting, which if you think in the news, that's what we see a lot of. Here's another one. What are the needs by the different areas within IT? Obviously, cost reduction is a big part of that. And how do you improve your processes? How do you become more competitive? And again, those are the big drivers. And if you look at most of these, you think of that first, what's going on in the data center, everything is becoming automated. And that's where we're really going. We could spend a lot of time on this chart. Unfortunately, we don't have time today. Now, there's lots of opportunity. Obviously, how do you get to market? And the use for internal savings, getting products to market. Cloud as a service, small businesses, big, large enterprises, consumers, and cloud as a service. Now, there's lots of different models, as we mentioned, within this. Another way to slice this is what does that market want and need, and how do we fulfill it? So if you look at small businesses, they're looking for the utility of cloud-based, and this is where obviously you see most of the software service, but they're now starting to get more into platform and infrastructure, and they're starting to use cloud and leverage it in their business. And a lot of this, there's really only 4 things that on a B2B, B2B, B2C level that people want. How do I get more customers? How do I earn more money from my current customers? How do I not lose customers and differentiate? And of course, how do I remove costs from my business? That's really what this follows. Now, community cloud, the drivers are scale. And again, this is any group that has common needs. These broadcasters that I work with in Africa is a perfect example. You had 53 broadcasters. They all had their own content. They were all buying content from different sources in America, Europe, even China. Well, that didn't make a lot of sense. And I spoke at a conference, and the guy ahead of me was the CEO, and he said, we need to find a way to share. It's too expensive to keep buying content. So I changed my talk, and I got up. I said, George is right. We need to share. And I went on talking about where we're going in Internet of Things and even non-IT. And I said, who's going to control that? You guys, the broadcaster and TV, or is it perhaps the mobile operator? And then got real quiet. And I said, hey, I'm following, man. I want to sell you set-top boxes and head-end and bandwidth and storage and all the other stuff. So are you a broadcaster or are you in the content business? And that started a conversation. A year later, we built this large content cloud with IT playout and satellite uplinks and IPTV for these various broadcasters. The evolution going on in the data center, how you're going to orchestrate and automate all those business processes and everything off the resource grid, that is going to be a huge business opportunity in the trillions of dollars. And if you think about time to market, I think we're going to see a new breed of cloud, community cloud actors in America. I look to people like Cerner or McKesson or Cardinal in healthcare. Now these guys have 2,000 to 3,000 hospitals in their networks. Perfect community cloud opportunity. Mobile sensory data is going to drive community cloud in a huge way. I'm doing a project with BT in the United Kingdom for using big data and cloud for you're going to me. I'm driving into London, which is a very difficult city to navigate. Direct me to the building. Direct me to the parking spot closest to that building. Now, how do you add relevant content and information? That's an example where mobile sensory data is going in just the next couple of years. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of evolution in the customer-user relationship due to technology. And that leads, I think, a lot to the discussion on privacy. In personal cloud, and there's a quote by Steve Jobs at the bottom, but where do you store your music, your books, photo, all your personal information? And the market size, IDC pegs it at about a little over $45 billion by 2018, but the Internet of Things is going to be trillions of dollars. And big data is, gee, would you like reporting on that? But you look at some of the other impacts on that, and things around privacy. Now, there's legislation in Japan. Canada has passed some about marketers' ability to track a user and send them information. You can't send an email to somebody in Canada. You can't do bulk email anymore. The United Kingdom passed legislation and is voting on it. That was 2 weeks ago. And the EU is drafting legislation. So how long before these kind of privacy issues come to America? And I look at things like Internet of Things, and I think this has to drive personal cloud. And there's really two ways to do it. One is going to be in a public provider like an Amazon or Workspace or Google perhaps, or it's going to be an appliance. It's going to be a box in the house. Personally, I think it's going to be a box. It's going to be an appliance, again, based on privacy. Who are you going to trust? Think about your own home. Your light bulbs are smart. Your door lock. It's going to sense, the mobile sensors are going to know from the network that you're a block away. It's going to turn on the lights in your house, open the garage door, and it's going to start the, all the things that you think in futurist movies is going to happen in the next 5 to 7 years. Who controls that? Google, Apple, or you? I think it has to be the user. I think marketers have to change towards permission-based marketing. And so when I talk to a service provider, a carrier, and they want to jump on the big data bandwagon, I point to this, and I look at where everything's going. And they say, yeah, let's sell the data to advertisers. I said, well, what if you can't? And they're kind of dumbfounded. And I said, well, what if we turned it around? What if you collected all that data, but you gave it back to them? You said, here, it's yours. We're going to keep it private and safe. It's your data. But here's a menu of services and applications to help you run the energy efficiency in your home, to help you manage your finances, to help manage your health care, or make sure grandma took her meds today. A whole range of things that you turn it around, all based on privacy and user control. And I think that's what's driving personal cloud. And we look at the portended trillions of dollars on the Internet of Things. To me, that's where the biggest opportunity just has to lie.